Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, let me congratulate and commend the four quality young men that you've seen here on the stage. Just conducted themselves in such a civil way. It's an example how the rest of the country should do it, and definitely how the national debate should go. So I commend all of you for doing such a great job. First of all, I want to send my best wishes to Senator McConnell for his health and well-being. We should all have our prayers for him, and I think he'll recover very well and be on the mend here soon, hopefully. First of all, to all of you, thank you. To the veterans, all of you who have served out there, thank you for your service to our country. To all of you who have family members serving, thank you for the commitment of supporting them. To Steve Roberts and this wonderful gathering and your staff that put this together, Steve, it's unbelievable how you extend and basically go beyond the last year. I had a young person from Ohio telling me they were here, and they said, and they were in the Chamber of Commerce back in Ohio. And she told me, she says, my goodness, I wish Ohio could see what West Virginia does in putting this type of a conference on. Right there you are. I appreciate it so much. And that was well spoken and well delivered. And we just don't want you to copy it too good. You follow me? It's just, you're okay. To my wife, Gail, who is the co-chair of the Appalachian Regional Commission, I'm so proud of her. Gail's dedicated her life to education and serving on the state board, but she's taught all her life, and then basically getting involved in so many community services and now having the job of a lifetime. And she says she waited a whole lifetime for it, and I want to thank Shelley for helping so much and making that happen. We all work together on that, but having a confirmation unanimous in sometimes a very toxic atmosphere is very gratifying. To our business leaders, to all of you, you make the country and make the state what it is today and what you've investment in basically the future of West Virginia, but the future of the country. We are the energy juggernaut, basically, and we have it all going on for us right now, and I think that we can capitalize on that. But without you all having the confidence and faith and willing to make the investments and take the risk that needs to be done to be successful, we would not have the development that we have right now going on. For the state and local officials, I want to thank you for your public service. I know it's not easy. I've been in the public light for a long time. I've been doing this for quite some time, and I always admire the people that are willing to put their name on the line and basically take the flack that comes with it. I told my kids when I first got involved, I said, honey, I told them all, I said, let me tell you, you're going to hear an awful lot of things. You're going to hear a lot of things about us. And, it's going to make you very mad and upset. And you're going to say, why would we do that? And I talk to people now. Try to recruit people to get involved in public service because I believe it's still the noblest of all professions. I believe when John Kennedy said that in 1960, it's the noblest of all professions. It's a calling. And we all can contribute one way or another, and some people put their name on the line, and that's what it is, and that's how they contribute. I told my children, whatever you hear, no matter how much you think you don't want to hear and it's bothering you so much and you're ashamed and you're mad and you're upset, that's a small price to pay for this wonderful life that you have and the opportunities in this great free country of ours. That's a very small price to pay for democracy. And that's how we have to look at it. That's exactly why we do it. So I thank all of them. And on this Labor Day weekend, I want to make sure that we really think about it. We wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for all the workers that we have that make the companies, and that's the heart and soul of all of our companies. No matter what your business is, what your organization, it's basically those who have helped you build what you have today. And I thank them for that. So I want to make sure as we come upon the Labor Day weekend that we recognize them also. To my staff, and I think that all of us know without a good staff around you, you're not going to be as successful as you would like. I have Wes Kungle, my chief of staff, is here with us today. Wes, where are you? So they can see who you are. There, Wes. And then we have Sam Runyon, my communications director. Sam is here with us. I know Sam. Raise your hand. They can, right there. Okay. Don't be bashful. And and then we have Andrew Robinson, economic development for the state of West Virginia, working in my office. Marcus Constantino, my IT guy. I have also Sam Lane from my Washington office and Alex Hewitt. I thank them so much. To my friend, Senator Capito, and to Charlie, thank you all. It's great working with you all, and We've had an awful long time friendship. Shelley can tell stories that sometimes embarrasses me, but she knows that it's just in good jest. And I always wince because I don't know which one she's coming up with next, but she surprises me sometimes. Let me just say this to all of you. We are punching above our weight. In West Virginia, we're punching above our weight. Think about this. In this little state, the two senators, I serve as chairman of the Energy Committee. Shelley serves as ranking member on EPW, which is Environmental Public Works. Nothing basically happens in West Virginia unless it goes through those two committees. One way or another, our jurisdictions, and we cross over and work together. Well, you're going to make sure that West Virginia is going to have her eyes on anything that's happening in our state, whether it's energy, whether it's technology, whether it's investments, whatever it may be. I'm going to make sure that we're not left behind. Shelley's going to make sure the same. And on top of that, we are the only two senators out of 100 to serve on Appropriations Committee. The only two. And now, and how that works, you have your caucuses, you have the Republican and the Democrat caucuses, and basically in that very large committee. And Patty Murray now is the chairman on the Democrat side, and Susan Collins, two very fine people. And they're our friends. We work with them very well. When you have two senators on appropriation that have a highest priority that needs to be done, and both of our staffs are working together, I'll guarantee you, 99% of the time it'll get done. It happens. And that's a tremendous plus for the state of West Virginia. But we both have been there for one reason, for the purpose of serving the people of West Virginia. And that's why we like when you come to us and we can work together and we show you how it's done. Hopefully we can show the rest of the country how it should be done. And if people make you think you're divided, please don't believe them. You're not divided. They would like for you to be divided. It's a better business model if you're divided and you're mad and you hate somebody else. It doesn't work well. And you would think, well, my goodness, if we're that divided, and people are expecting me to give a speech on telling you how bad things are, I'm not going to say anything because Chris Stirewalt did such a great job yesterday of identifying what's going on in Washington. I don't think I have to basically harp on that at all. So it's challenging. But let me tell you what's happened in the most challenging time. The 117th Congress, the last 2 years, 117th Congress, 50-50 split. Never happened in the history of our country have we had a 50-50 split. Now, those of us who think in a bipartisan way, you got to work together to get things done, we had two ways to go. It's 50-50 right now. We're not going to get anything accomplished. It's a toxic atmosphere. Everyone's against the other person. You want to blame someone. Well, guess what? In 50-50, you can't blame anybody. It's all of our fault. There's no majority. We're equally split. You got to get something done or sit back and do nothing. We decided as a group on a bipartisan way to do something. The 117th Congress will go down as the most productive Congress, one of the most productive in the history of the United States of Congress and the Senate. And we came out of the pandemic stronger than any other nation. So let's look at the positives that we have right now, what we can build off of. Because all you hear is about what you see on television, and I get so tired of watching it and looking and seeing all the things and all the blame game going on, and everyone's accusing everyone and everything's a conspiracy. I've gotten to the point now where I'm saying, my goodness, when a politician tells me the only fair election is the one they win, it's hard to stomach. When they tell me that the laws only apply to everybody but them, it's hard to stomach. It's not who we are. This is not normal times. This is not normal. We didn't become the country we are today acting this way. We didn't become the superpower of the world. We didn't become basically the hope of the world acting this way. But in trying times, let me give you a few examples of what we've been able to do in a bipartisan way. Never before in the history of our country have we been this divided, as I've told you before. We don't play the blame game, because if you do, you get nothing accomplished. We work together and give you a perfect example. January 6th was real. It happened, gang. We were there. They can say what they want, but it happened. You would think if we're that torn apart and we're that divided, why would we, one of the first bills we worked on in the bipartisan way was the Electoral Count Act. We wanted to make sure it never happened again. It can't raise its ugly head. No one can charge us on January the 6th when we do the transfer and basically count the ballots. It's a formal procedure, but yet there was a little bit of a crack in that. It's kind of been there for quite some time. We closed that crack. That'll never happen again. I'm not saying we're not going to have challenges, but it won't be because of that they think they can overrun the Capitol, take over the ballots, and change the election results. That's not going to happen. So we were able to change that. That's in a bipartisan bill. Bipartisan infrastructure bill, the largest long-term jobs bill that we've ever done in the last 30 years. Building our interstates, building our highways, building everything that we've done, internet connectivity, our bridges, Corridor H, all the things that we've talked about is going to happen. And by the end of this decade, we will have every household connected to high-speed internet. Unbelievable. I usually, the analogy of this, 1932, FDR gets elected. 1936 is the rural electrification. How in the world in 1936 was he able basically to start down a program that we were able to get electric in every home in America? Think about it. That's a tremendous undertaking to have that accomplished. If they can do that then, and we're having a hard time now getting everybody connected, that's unacceptable. And we were able to change that. The Bipartisan Chips and Science Act, strictly for one purpose and one purpose only. Let me tell you what we did in America for the last 30 years. With the WTO, we allowed China in the WTO, and we thought we would help them bring that economy, bring that billion people into the real world, into the developed nations, if you will. And in doing that, basically, our entrepreneurial spirit, the capitalism society that we live in, we allowed a lot of the things. And with NAFTA, too, we allow a lot of our building blocks. And I say a building block. Building block is basically what we need every day to run this country. Basically, the computer chips, science chips, the things of that, photocells, everything that we're doing right now, that's our building blocks. And when you have countries that don't have your same values, and I'll give you a perfect example. China, you have Russia, you have North Korea, okay, you have Iran. And these countries are never going to have our values. We know that. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to trade with them. We're not going to try to work with them the best we can. We're just not going to depend on them for a supply chain that we have to run this country. And we saw the disruption of supply chains with the pandemic. That was done because of a pandemic coming. We were trying to avoid a health crisis and tried to avoid a financial crisis. And I think we did a good job of both, again, in a bipartisan way. So this CHIPS Act is bringing that back to America. We're doing everything we can. We're investing more. There's more investments coming to our country than ever before. And we will be able to be self-sufficient in the computer chips we need and the high-developed computer chips. The Bipartisan PACT Act. The toxic basic exposure most of our veterans have had as they traveled overseas and been in war zones is unbelievable and unacceptable. And it's up to us to make sure that we take care of them. That's our responsibility. We do that better than any other country in the world. We do that better. I'm going to give you a horrible statistic right here. This horrible Ukraine war and what Russia does to its... Do you know that Russia does not even allow their bodies to be sent back to the families that can get repatriation or get some form of assistance that they would have to pay those families? It's just unbelievable what's going on. What is going on over there? And I want to talk about this, the bipartisan support for Ukraine. I'm of a vintage. I remember the Vietnam War and every war in my lifetime. This is the only one that I will say this. This is my personal opinion. This war that we are involved in the United States of America is truly supported in a bipartisan, strong bipartisan way. Now, we have fringes on both sides that believe that we shouldn't be spending. And I've always said this, there's two things. You can spend money or invest money. When you spend money, you do it for gratification of what you want. When you invest money, you expect a return on investment. We're not spending a penny in Ukraine. We're investing in Ukraine. That country is fighting for its life, and it's putting their people on the line. They're willing to sacrifice their life, and they're willing to do it because they want what we have. They want the freedoms. They want a democracy. And here we are. The purpose of the United States of America is to be the defender of democracy. If we're going to be the superpower of the world, then you better stand up. You better stand up strong and be counted. And you better be able to bring your allies with you, because by the grace of God, it could be them next. I traveled to Ukraine. I was able to speak to Zelensky. I went with, at that time, I think we had Mark Kelly that went with me, senator from Arizona. Lisa Murkowski went with me, senator from Alaska. And I had Brad Paisley go with me. He's a senator from everything. But he is basically an ambassador to Ukraine because he's totally committed to supporting them. And we had a tremendous trip. Let me tell you what came out of that trip. You've been hearing of the cluster bombs they're getting now? They call them the Depicums. We got 1.2 million depicums stored in America. We know we have that many. We're never going to use them. We are never going to use them in war. Russia is throwing those cluster bombs, unbelievable, at the forces of the Ukrainians. And when they're throwing those bombs there, those things go off basically, and they have what they call a dud rate. The dud rate with the Russian bombs coming at Ukrainians is 30 to 40%. That means there's an awful lot of unexploded ordnances that they're going to have to deal with sooner or later. The depicums that we gave them, or the cluster bombs that we gave them, have a dud rate of 2 to 3%. 2 to 3%. And they're basically firing it in their own country. It's not basically creating a hazard for another country. If we don't give them an opportunity to protect themselves, God help them. And it will make the difference in the war for them. And that is making a change right now. So we were very proud to get that done. But that war is a just war. And if you don't believe what I'm telling you, if you want to know the effect of that war, talk to Poland. Talk to the people in Poland. And here's another thing. I've never seen the likes of humanity that I've seen in Poland. 5 million people have left and immigrated from Ukraine with this war. Now, the Polish and the Ukrainians have never been all that tight. It hasn't been a real tight bond. They have basically not opened only their hearts up, they opened up their homes. They have taken 2.5 million Ukrainians into their homes. It wasn't government intervention. It's just a humanitarian love of the neighbor. And this is what they have done, that they basically showed the whole world. I hope that more people see what's going on there, that we can give them the proper support that we need to. Now, the Inflation Reduction Act. I want to speak about that because the Inflation Reduction Act was done in a way I wish we didn't have to do it, which is in reconciliation, which is an odd way of how we do business. But it's something that Robert C. Byrd always warned me of. He said, Joe, he says, if they can, they're going to do major legislation, and that's not what it's done for. And that's exactly what happened. But it was the only vehicle we had. But to my Republican colleagues was this. For the 4 or 5 years, the last 4 or 5 years, I've been talking in the Energy Committee, and we always talked about, hey, guys, we got to pay down debt. Well, guess what the Inflation Reduction Bill did? $238 billion went to debt. You never hear anybody talk about that. We've got to produce more. I want to tell you today, we're producing more energy in America than ever in the history of the United States of America. More fossil is being produced today, more gas, more oil, and our coal production is going up with higher prices than ever before. Now, with that, I said we can walk and chew gum at the same time. And what I mean by that, we're producing energy with fossil cleaner than anywhere in the world. The Marcellus Shale is the cleanest production of natural gas, along with the Gulf Coast. We're producing 4.6 billion barrels of oil this year. 4.6 billion barrels. 37 trillion cubic feet of gas. 37. 13.5 billion, basically, billion cubic feet of LNG that we're producing to ship into the markets to help our people and our allies around the world. When this Ukraine war started, what we had was a tremendous problem that basically Putin had weaponized energy. He weaponized energy, and he's used it against him. And I'll guarantee you, Xi Jinping was going to do the same with the critical minerals and all the things that we're depending on. That we had to change, and we have. So we've paid down debt. We're producing more. They said, why'd you call it Inflation Reduction Act? I said, well, if you're producing more, the way I understand it, usually brings the price down. And they said, well, inflation was at 9% when we did it. We're down to 3%. There's a lot more to be done. There's still a lot of a hardship out there, but we've gone in the right way. And we're in better shape today than we ever have. So when I talk about that, I want you to know exactly what's going on and what we've been able to do. So no matter all the people in the state, I've been in this position. Shelley served in legislature. I've served in many positions in legislature and in executive branch and being governor. $80 billion of federal investment has come to our state in the last 4 years. $80 billion. That's $22 billion more than we've ever received. Ever received. $22 billion more. Now it's up to us to show what we're going to prove from that investment. That's the investment the federal government has made into West Virginia. And it's up to the responsibility of the legislators to do it in a prudent manner. And I agree with a lot of things that's been done. I do. And there's a lot more that can be done. I think we've heard 4 young men basically talk about the vision they have. And I'm going to help every way I can to make sure that we're successful. But this is a tremendous opportunity. No other state's gotten what we have. We're in that transitional. They're watching us. We are on the cusp of basically, can that transition happen without destroying who we are and the coal industry that we have and the culture that we have, but build on the changes that are coming. And we're doing that better than any place in the world. Let me give you some of the examples. The hydrogen hub. This hydrogen hub is going to be unbelievable. I've got all the faith and hope in the world that you're going to hear that we're going to be successful in that. I hope for the next 3 or 4 months. We don't know, but we're in good shape. We put a good team together. Everybody's worked together, again, in a bipartisan way. And let me say this. Anything I'm talking to you about doesn't work unless the state government's on board, unless the legislature's on board, unless the local government's on board. It doesn't work. We can give you all the opportunities. We can't make them. We can't make them come. They have to know that you want them. They have to know that you're willing to work. And right now, the state, all of them have done a great job. Mitch Carmichael and his team, and basically with our Speaker and the President of the Senate, and Roger and Craig have been wonderful to work with in a bipartisan way, making sure that we had one goal and one goal only, showing people this is the place they should come and invest. And on top of that, though, you have the 48C tax credit, and that's basically done because I said nobody should be left behind when they've done what our state has done. It's been said before, but in the state of West Virginia, we have mined the coal, the forged the steel, the built the guns and ships. We have done everything. We got more veterans per capita. We shed more blood per capita than any other state as far as defending this great country. We have given our all, and we will continue to do that. And we will show you by allowing us not to fall behind and be left behind. That 48C tax credit gives every corporation that comes here an extra 10% advantage into a transitional state. And this, by all means, is a transitional state. We can still do what we've been doing, and we can do it better and cleaner, but we can also expand in the new clean technologies of the future. And that's what will happen. We did broadband, $1.2 billion. We've done that. We did $3.2 billion in our highways, including Corridor H, that. We did basically the Pleasance Power Station. I think it was announced yesterday, Pleasance Power Station. That wouldn't happen without the Credits and Inflation Reduction Act. Would not have happened. Forum Energy would not have happened in Weirton without the Inflation Reduction Act. And these are things that both of us have worked together on, Democrats, Republicans. But when it came down to it, it was passed in a partisan way only. That's not a fair evaluation of how the bill was put together, and I know very well how it was put together. Carbon capture, utilization, sequestration. That's exactly. We increased the credits on that. 48Q tax credits went up tremendously. Now, I'll give you an example. Competitive Power Ventures, 1,800 megawatt combined cycle, Doddridge County. Would not have happened, would not be on the board if it was not for the IRA. Prescription drugs. We're able now to basically 400,000 people in West Virginia are on Medicare with prescription drugs. We're able to reduce their cost. $35 cap on insulin. $238 billion paying down debt. There's a lot of good that's been happening. And this happened in a divided Congress. Divided. So don't let them tell you you're divided. And don't let them make you think you've got to pick a side. There's only one side. That's the American side. There is only one side. The state of West Virginia has a lifetime opportunity in front of it right now. We can't squander this. We can't let bickering and politics get involved. We can't have name-calling. We can't have villainization getting in the way of this. This has got to succeed. We've got that chance. We have it. It's all teed up right now. We have to use all of the skills that we have to be able to show that we can do it. We have a labor problem. There's going to be more demand right now. There's not one of you in the room that has a business that's not looking for labor. This country has an immigration problem. We've built the greatest power on the earth because of immigration, but we've done it in a way that was proper. People came for the right reason. You've got to secure the border. You cannot have border unsecurity and think you're going to have a nation that can withstand. It can't do it. But you have to have worker visas too. People coming to the border by the hundreds of thousands aren't coming just because they're looking for asylum. They're coming because they want a new way of life. And if you have a worker visa and you come in here, and basically the state should be responsible. The federal government can't do everything for you. If you think the federal government's going to place everybody and take care of them, make sure you're housing them and feeding them, that's not going to happen. But every state should be able to bid on how many workers you need. I can give you one example. I was over in the Eastern Panhandle. They said, we're going to lose our crop. Everyone's been hearing it. We can't pick our apples. We're going to lose them. So the bottom line is, every state could say, hey, I need 10,000. Well, I need 100,000 here, or 50,000. They should be vetted. They should be vetted in their own home country with our assistance through our embassies. And then they should go into the queue that you can bid on. I want 10,000. I want workers. Now, you want to fix Social Security and Medicare? Get more workers' participation paying into FICA. That helps immediately. You want to make sure you take care of your shortages. You want to build a straightest economy, because if not, you're going to have inflation come back and hit you, because you're not going to be able to produce what the demand from the product is going to be. You don't have the workers to produce it. And government's got to get off its butt and get back to work. You wonder why you can't get things done in Washington? People aren't going back to work. That's the bottom line. And I've told all the agencies, and they know exactly how I feel about it. We're riding herd on it. So we've talked about so many different things that need to be done, but this is the one that we can do. We can put people back into jobs, and there's jobs in America. There's 9 million jobs that we haven't been able to fulfill. Permitting reform, we've talked about permitting reform. It's got to be done. We've done some of it, a little bit of NEPA. Okay, we need judicial reform. We need basically transmission and pipeline reform. We need all of these reforms so we can get things done. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. There's no easy lift here at all. But the bottom line, we've been able to rise to the occasion before, and we can do it again. I truly believe with all of my heart that we have the ability. Because if we don't, everything I just mentioned, all the good that's been done, bipartisan working together, is going to be all negated. Because I can tell you, this is a 10-year window. By 2032, this goes away. So you better get your act together. We better make sure that the permitting, if the permitting doesn't done and they won't let you work, then that money won't be expanded and sent. It won't be spent. So we're working on that to make sure the changes. Mountain Valley Pipeline, I can talk. I've been through every iteration of a human being can be through in a political arena on that one there. And it was the help. And I again, my friend Shelley, I want to thank you. She worked hard. We all worked hard. We used every tool that we had in our toolbox, everything we could. And it finally came down to the courts. And then the Fourth Circuit. There's no way we were going to get through the Fourth Circuit. When we finally got that done, and we wrote the amicus brief and got involved in what we were able to do, and John Roberts acted quickly and swiftly. We got 4,500 people working today. 4,500 people are working right now. That's $50 million in royalty payments to the people of West Virginia, another $10 million in tax for the people in West Virginia. It opens up the floodgates of what we can do. I just talked to all the producers and all of you out there. I appreciate so much the investments you're making, and I want you to know you should have the confidence to continue to make those investments, because we're going to be right behind you. My grandfather would say, I said, Papa, are you with me? He said, y'all be behind you until your chest hurts. I want you all to know that we're behind you until your chest hurts. You can't get much closer than that. We want you to succeed. You are our partners. And government should not be your provider. People look at me and say, when I was governor, I said, Joe, we want this. I said, what do you want? And I said, I'm not your provider. I said, I'm your partner. You want a good partner? I'll be a good partner. But I'm not going to be your provider. This is a two-way street. This is a two-way street. I got another cute story I want to say. My father, my dad was something. He had all these sayings for everything. And then my grandfather was the greatest, Papa. And he said, show me a man lifts dumbbells and I'll show you a dumbbell. He used that saying on me because I used to try to get out of work all the time. So I said, Papa, let me off. I figured he loved football. So I said, I want to go lift weights and get strong. And I was 10 years, 11, 12 years old, and he was cutting chickens and all in his butcher block. He never looked up. He said, honey, show me a man that lifts dumbbells, and I'll show you a dumbbell. You want to get strong? Get back in the warehouse and change that warehouse around. I never asked for another day off. Another day. No, I couldn't do it. But then my dad one time, and we had a little furniture store too, and there's people always wanted to credit this and credit that, and Dad would always extend them. And then when I got a little older, I was supposed to be I wasn't good at collecting. I could not. I went to the house one time because people weren't paying for, and they had a furniture set and they had television. I'm supposed to go there and tell them that we had to take this back. So I walked in this house, and there's the kids watching television, and the mother was there, and she was cooking. And I walked in, and I said, what am I going to say? And so Dad says, so I went back. I never said a word. He said, how'd you do on collection, Joe? And I said, well, Dad, we owe them a refrigerator now because they need a new refrigerator. So I said, I got to get out of that business. That wasn't good for me. I want to leave you with this. This is the greatest country on earth. There's no one in the wings wanting to take the place of the United States of America to be the most compassionate, to be the most giving, caring nation the world has ever known. There's no one willing to do that. There's other countries, you hear China, and they all have other aspirations. But it's not for what we do for humanity. But we have got to get back to normal. If we've done everything I just mentioned to you under abnormal times, that's not normal at all. This is not how we become the country. We were able to succeed in the last 4 years this way in the most difficult times. Just think what we could do if it was more normal. If we truly looked at each other and says, listen, you got another idea. And man, I like a lot of that. I can't agree on everything. And we start working back and forth the way it was. I've said this, I have never met the first person that's always wrong. Now, I've walked away thinking they're crazy than a damn bed bug, but that was because I didn't take enough time to find out what they had to offer. That was my fault, not theirs. Not theirs. There's no one's always wrong. You've got to make that effort. Now, in the political arena, you've got to work 10 times harder to make that. But you've got to hold people accountable and speak truth to power. And when the president grabs you by the arm and says, Joe, your country needs you, you need to say in the most compassionate way, Mr. President, the country needs you too. It needs all of us. This country doesn't work unless we're all pulling in the same direction. So when everyone tells you that America has seen her better days, we've just begun. And I can tell you the better days are here to come. I am proud to be a United States Senator representing the greatest state on nation that's given more than any other state's given on a per capita basis. I'm proud to be a West Virginian, and I'm a proud American, and I hope you are too. God bless each and every one of you. God bless the great state of West Virginia. May God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.